Hey, what's up, guys? It's me again, back at it again with NFL Week 7 picks and predictions. Last week I went 13-1, bringing my overall record to 52-40. We're finally back a little bit over the positive, so I'm hoping to keep that streak alive tonight, starting with the NFL Thursday night game, Broncos at the Saints. Broncos had an abysmal showing offensively against the Chargers, while the Saints had a great second quarter, not so much a great any other quarter, especially defensively. You let Baker and company have almost 600 total yards on you, 277 rushing yards. That's insane. And I think that's going to be the formula for the Broncos winning tonight, which is why I'm picking them. Even though they haven't really established a run game, I think that's all they're going to be able to need because their defense should be able to slow down a rookie quarterback without Rashid Shaheed and without Chris Olave. So you're going to be relying on what Bub means. I think the Broncos just need to play this a little safer. Bo Nix cannot look worse than he did last week, but maybe he can. That could be an issue. I don't see him running for 60 plus yards again like he did last week, but I think that's what the running backs are going to be for. I think Javonte and McLaughlin are going to have a solid game. Otherwise, I really don't see how the Saints can win aside from Bo Nix just screwing it all up. But I got the Broncos here. Next, London game between two 1-5 crap teams. I don't know really who to pick. This is a coin flip. I could be picking between either teams because the only way I see the Patriots winning is by Drake May just exceeding expectations again. And it's only his second game. That's why I'm going to pick the Jaguars here. But holy crap, dude, does the Jaguars just need to fire Doug Peterson? He might be left in London at this point. What do? You got Evan Ingram back. Travis Etienne goes down, but Tank Bigsby is still solid enough to replace him on a recovery note, and you just still suck. Your receivers are dropping multiple touchdowns at this point. Like a lot of the crap has been Trevor looking bad, but the receivers also need to catch the damn ball. Like, you got Evan Ingram back, he had double-digit touches, and you just didn't get anything going. You got smashed by the Bears. Outstanding, mind you, defense. The Patriots don't have as good of a defense as the Bears, but if you lose to Drake May, I think the whole team should just stay in London at this point. Like, what do? Drake May, Patriots fans, you just want to see Drake May improve. He looked really good last week. I think he's going to look even better this week. This is a perfect chance to get his first win. And just the Jags have a laughing stock of a week. But I am going to pick the Jags here because I just don't see them losing at quote-unquote home back-to-back weeks. But even if they win, I think they're going to fire Doug Peterson regardless. He already shows he wants out. Nobody's really playing for anything, which is why if I do change sides, I will screenshot my ESPN picks just to show you, like, I do think the Patriots could easily win. This is a coin flip right here. This is not a coin flip. Bills all the way. Will Levis is god-awful. The Bills just acquired Amari Cooper, who I have been a big fan of since he was drafted by the Raiders back in, 2014, 2015. And man, God, I'm excited to see what he can do. He's not a big talker. He just lets his game show, and I'm really excited to see what he can do with Josh Allen here. So I expect the Bills to win like 40-10. Lions at the Vikings. This is also a very tight game to pick because the Lions just lost Aiden Hutchinson, and as of today, being Thursday, they have not acquired Max Crosby. I don't know if talks are in the works yet or what they're gonna have to give up to get Max Crosby, if that actually goes through, if the rumors are true. But this is a tough game to choose because the Vikings defense is so good and the Lions run offense is really good and the defense has been solid too. And I think even without Aiden Hutchinson, I think the secondary is gonna do enough to maintain Sam Darnold. I could totally see the Vikings winning this game and start 6-0, which is crazy to say. Imagine saying that 7 weeks ago. Though the Vikings are 7-0, totally believable. But I don't know. I just think they're due for a loss here, and I think it starts with the Lions. I think the Lions have looked really good. They embarrassed the Cowboys. They're trying to get their linemen to score touchdowns, but it does suck. Like, can you really say the Lions are Super Bowl contenders without Aiden Hutchinson? He was having Defensive Player of the Year numbers. He was getting pressure on practically every snap. So it really sucks to see. Hope you wish him a speedy recovery. And the Vikings could win this. Like I said, this is a tight game. I could totally see this being like 24-22 or something like that. But I don't know. I just have a feeling the Lions will pull it out. Seattle at the Falcons, and it sucks. Remember week 4 when I said there's no way Seattle can be frauds? I picked them to upset the Lions. Yeah, they disappointed. They disappointed all 3 weeks in a row. They started 3-0. Now they're 3-3. The Falcons have actually looked better, while the Seahawks have actually looked worse. So that's the one reason I'm picking the Falcons here. They've progressively gotten better. They've established Tyler Algier and Bijan as a huge 1-2 combo. You've got Drake London getting double-digit targets every single game. The defense has looked okay. Seattle's defense not so much. Like they can score on any drive. Kenneth Walker's get it going. DK had a big touchdown called back because of Kenneth shimmying on a play for an illegal formation. So that kind of sucked. But even then, their defense is allowing big play after big play. Multiple weeks now, they've allowed multiple 50-plus yard touchdowns at this point. And I can totally see that with the Falcons here. It's just the Seahawks aren't that kind of team to just, no, they can't score 40 points to win every game. And I think that's what the Falcons are going to do here. They're just going to outpace, out-talent, and out-big play them. That's all I can really say here. Meanwhile, the Bengals at the Browns are got to be tanking at this point, right? I did say that I'm going to pick against the Browns so long as Deshaun Watson is starting every single week. And now you got rid of Amari Cooper. Nick Chubb is supposed to be coming back this week. I'm not sure if he's going to be 100% or if he's going to be getting every single touch like he used to, because you do still have Jerome Ford, so you probably want to ease him back in. But even then, although this totally is a trap game, because at this point, Joe Burrow is either winless or has one win against the Cleveland Browns in his career, which is insane considering what his stats are against other teams, like other competitors. But for some reason, when he plays the Browns, even at this state, I'm kind of worried about this pick. The Bengals theoretically should destroy the Browns, not to discredit the Browns defense, but Deshaun Watson is so awful. I'm fairly certain that the Browns defense and special teams at this point has more touchdowns than Deshaun Watson. He's given opportunities to score, and he does jack shit every single time. I freaking hate the dude. It's so frustrating looking at his team, and he's even worse than Kenny Pickett. You know how Kenny Pickett would do jack shit, but at least Kenny Pickett would perform in the fourth quarter. He's not performing in the fourth quarter. So you know what? I hope the Bengals win 50-2. So the Browns can finally say, let's bench Deshaun Watson. There's no reason to pick the Browns here, except for the fact that Burrow, for some reason, can't beat them. But I think he gets his second win here. And now for the Eagles at Giants, Nick Sirianni, just chirping at fans after beating the Browns at home against his home fans. What are you doing? The Giants didn't look that great against the Bengals. Defensively, they looked really solid, but offensively, without Malik Nabers and Devin Singletary, they looked horrible. They did not do anything except for when they were set up in a good field position to score. Meanwhile, the Eagles barely put up 20 points against the Browns. I think they'll do way better against the Giants. It's a Saquon Barkley revenge game. Look for him to score over 100 rushing yards or 100 total yards. If you're doing Underdog or DraftKings or however, I would pick Saquon in this game. I think that's what this Eagles team is going to rely on for this game, is just let Saquon do his thing. I don't really see a reason to pick the Giants, especially if Nabers is out. He was limited. I do think he'll play, but look out for that injury report. So I'm going to go with the Eagles here to barely beat out the Giants. And the Dolphins against the Colts. The Colts are leaning towards starting Anthony Richardson, although I do think they should start Joe Flacco. He's just looked that much better. But I think either way, if they start Anthony Richardson, I'm going to be picking them against the Dolphins. Dolphins, you just don't really got much going for. They barely beat the Patriots, but that's the Patriots, and you only put up 15 on them. I think you're going to have to do a lot more, especially if Joe Flacco takes the field. He's going to be slinging it all over the Dolphins. You just look to hope to see when Tua gets back. He could come back in the next couple weeks, maybe next week even, although that's doubtful. But regardless, I'm going to pick the Colts here. They should be getting Jonathan Taylor back, and that's going to be all she wrote. Texans at the Packers. Now, this is a game I'm looking forward to seeing, because this is a real test. I said it was a real test for CJ Stroud to beat the Bills, and he smashed them. And I want to see what he can do at Lambeau. The Packers can score. Any of their players can score. Romeo Doubs can disappear for a week. Bam, score 2 touchdowns off 4 catches another week. Christian Watson can get wide open any play. Jaden Reed, he's the speedster. He can get open any play or run drag routes or handoffs. Josh Jacobs can run all over this Texans team if he wants to, although I don't think he will. And I think because there is no Nico Collins and you're going to have Jair all over Stephon Diggs, and I think that's going to be a really interesting matchup. Matchup-wise, I think the Packers can get the win against this Texans team. Although Texans are 5-1 for a reason. I'm really interested to see. This is and the reason I'm picking the Packers because they just fired their kicker, who could have costed them a few games at this point. They just got they signed a veteran, Brandon McManus, and although I don't know how accurate he's going to be, he can't look worse than their previous kicker. But CJ Stroud should have a good game. I'm very excited to see what Stroud can do. He proved me wrong against the Bills. He can easily prove me wrong against the Packers, but I just like what I'm seeing from the Packers as a unit, getting everybody involved, and still Tucker Kraft is sneaky. Can get him involved. And yeah, I just like the Packers here, but I'm excited to watch this game. Raiders at the Rams. Raiders, yeah, so when are you guys going to be trading Max Crosby? I'm very interested because now you got rid of Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers hasn't played these last couple practices, so he might not even play. So there's no reason to pick the Raiders here, especially if they get Cooper Kupp back. He could play this week. I'm leaning towards he plays limited snaps, but this game just has Kyren all over it. Stafford should have a solid game. He won't have to do much. Yeah, there's really not much to say. I've just got the Rams here. It's really upsetting what's happened to the Rams, though, that they're 1-5. I had them being playoff contenders at the beginning of the year. Now, being 1-5, I don't know how many 1-5 teams have made the playoffs in history. I imagine none, if not very few. And I don't think they can do anything here. It sucks, but they should get a win here. Panthers at the Commanders. I'm going to be going with the Commanders for Jaden Daniels to, once again, have an impressive outputting. They competed against the Ravens. It just came down to Ravens running out the rest of the clock on their last drive. But I liked what I saw from him. I've always said since the beginning I've been excited to see what Jaden Daniels can do, and he's impressed me week by week by week, and I think he's going to smash the Panthers, and they might get Brian Robinson back. That's going to be another asset to him. Meanwhile, the Panthers, they can score a little bit, although they might be without Deontay Johnson. Yeah, there's really not much to say. Commanders, easy win here. KC against the Niners. Now this game, this is the hopeful game, because if the Niners can't beat the Chiefs, who can? The Niners in their current state, who should have Jordan Mason back this week, have all the talents in the world to get revenge for that Super Bowl loss. The Chiefs, who have not made any free agency moves, although they did get Juju Smith-Schuster rolling again, which is crazy this time. They offensively just hasn't looked great. They looked pretty solid against the Saints, but that's because the Saints just looked like crap. Like offensively, they didn't get their best receiver going at all, and then Derek Carr got hurt, and then you just ran up the score. Aside from that, the Niners defense is still great. They're still solid. The Chiefs defense is solid. But I think the Niners got too many playmakers to really go against the Chiefs with. If they had Rashee Rice and Isaiah Pacheco, I could lean towards the Chiefs here. But because of that, also it's just a hunch. The Chiefs have to lose at some point. They've got the Bills. They've already beaten the Ravens and Bengals. They've already beaten, their AFC. They're not going to lose to any of the AFC West teams, at least this week. Looking forward into the future picks. So if the Niners can't beat the Chiefs, who can? All you got left is Josh Allen facing them this year, unless the Steelers can pull off an upset or something like that. Yeah, but the Niners got too much talent to just lose to the Chiefs again. They could have won the last year's Super Bowl, but I think they'll get revenge for this game. I think it's going to be a tight game. Could have easily been a primetime game, but Niners squeak one out. And now here... So here's the thing. I'm going with the Jets. Only not because they acquired Devontae Adams, but because the Steelers are supposedly starting Russell Wilson. I don't know why the hell they're starting Russell Wilson, because Justin Fields was not the problem. Aside from one loss against the Cowboys, where he didn't literally look that good, and considering everybody else can score on the Cowboys really easily, but he's looked very solid. He's got more rushing upside than Russell Wilson. He's looked better and better passing-wise, minus the Cowboys game, and the Jets have a terrible run defense. They have a bad O-line. The Steelers are going to pressure Rodgers all day. And what does the acquisition of Devontae Adams really do. Rodgers bitched his way to getting Salah fired. He bitches his way to getting everything he wants just to not do anything in the playoffs. He's literally the Karen of Cowboys. Like, if the Cowboys organization of choking in the playoffs was one person, it would be Aaron Rodgers. Except he literally throws everybody under the bus. But I do think he can outperform Russell Wilson in this case in Pittsburgh. I don't know why the hell. If the Steelers were starting Fields, I'd tell them to run all day, get Najee, Warren, Fields, run every single play. Because what does Devontae really bring to the table that you didn't already have in Garrett Wilson? He was a younger stud who was getting double-digit targets. You had Alan Lazard catching Hail Marys, and he has been your best playmaker as of now. Mike, is it to replace Mike Williams? Because he hasn't really looked good. Like, Devontae Adams can only do so much. Even if he averages 100 yards a game, you can't really do much if your O-line doesn't protect the quarterback and you're letting other teams outrun you 200 to however Brees Hall can get it going. But anyways, enough for that. I'll save that rant for another time. For the Jets are 2-4 for a reason, and I think the only reason they're going to win this is because the Steelers want to be absolute dumbasses and start Russell Wilson when you have Fields, who's looked solid. At best, Russell is also going to look solid, but I don't believe in that. So Jets will take this one here. And that brings us to our doubleheader for the Monday games. We got the Ravens at the Buccaneers, and this has like 38-35 written all over it. Buccaneers had 600 yards of offense, or at least really close. Ravens outrun their opponents by above 100 yards a game, maybe 150 yards a game. And I love what I'm seeing from both quarterbacks. It sucks that one of these guys has to lose because Baker has looked really good. Lamar has looked really good. Derrick Henry has looked amazing. Lamar can sling it. He can run it. Derrick Henry can pound the rock. The Buccaneers running backs, between Bucky Irving and their other running back who was getting it going last week, who had most of his yards in the fourth quarter. I like what I'm seeing. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, great duo. That's a better duo than what the Ravens have to offer. Mark Andrews finally scored a touchdown this week. And Zay Flowers had over 100 yards left 9 catches. So I really don't know who to pick here. I'm leaning towards the Buccaneers for this one. Not because I think the Ravens should lose or I want the Ravens to lose. Because I can see the Ravens also like winning by like 17 points at this rate, pulling a reverse on what the Buccaneers did to the Saints. But I think the Saints I love what Baker's doing. He's slinging the rock, getting his playmakers involved every single drive. And I think for the Ravens to win, they have to start with the ball and continually run the clock and pound the clock and get Henry, just get it going. And the Buccaneers could limit Henry. I don't think he's going to be that dominant, but I think that's their game plan, is just limit Henry, get it going on offense, and just make it to where the Ravens have to throw and just play catch up all game. And I think that's going to be the Buccaneers' way to win here. But just barely. Ravens could easily win. Prove me wrong. Ravens have already looked good. Even if they lose here, if they look great, they look great. And that brings us to the last game of the week. We got the Chargers at the Cardinals. Cardinals lost to Marvin Harrison Jr. at the beginning of the first quarter last week, and they didn't do anything else. James Conner wasn't great. Chargers almost pulled a Charger and almost blew a 23-0 lead, although I wasn't really worried about that considering how much time was left on the clock when that quote-unquote comeback started happening. But it would have been a Chargers thing to get nervous if the Broncos had recovered that onside kick. But Bo Nix looked horrible in the first half, and the Chargers defense has looked great, even without Joey Bosa. I think they're going to limit Kyler Murray, even if Marvin Harrison Jr. does play, which is easily their best playmaker. I think they would be able to limit him accordingly. They did let Courtland Sutton. For some reason, Courtland Sutton just loves catching crazy, unpredictable touchdowns against the Chargers, and that could happen here with Marvin Harrison. But I think the Chargers are going to have it easier putting offensively. They're going to get JK going, and their backup running back who caught that 30-yard touchdown from Herbert, that was a beautiful pass. I think they can get him going. And the Chargers are kind of like the Packers, except their players aren't as known. Like, there's like 10 people on the roster that I don't really know that will catch a pass from Herbert, and the Cardinals have to worry about all of them, even if they're just short gains or flat routes. and just moving the sticks. Chargers can dominate time of possession here, and I think that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to limit Kyler. With or without Harrison, I got the Chargers here. So those have been my NFL Week 7 picks and predictions. Hope you all have a good Sunday. Have a good football day. And I will see y'all next week. Peace.